installations, and delicious dining options. Whether you're flying for business or pleasure, our state-of-the-art facilities make your journey smoother than ever. Don't forget to explore our unique shops and local flavors. Pack your bags and take off from San Francisco International Airport. SFO, your adventure awaits.
The lights, the crowd, the moment. When the Warriors take the floor, greatness follows. At Cache Creek Casino Resort, every moment shines. Feel the rush as the reels spin. Breathe in our serene spa. Savor each bite in our award-winning steakhouse. And recharge in the comfort of our luxurious hotel. Cache Creek Casino Resort, proud partner of your Golden State Warriors. Please play responsibly.
Hey, Dub Nation, it's your boy, Bonte Hill. And if you want to stay locked into the Bay's sports scene all season long, there's only one app you need, and that's the NBC Sports Bay Area app. We're talking breaking news, live game updates, exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes access, game day highlights, videos, and much, much more. It's all right there in your pocket. One tap, and you're with the squad. Anytime, anywhere. What are you waiting for? Download the NBC Sports Bay Area app today.
9 Inch Nails. Live at Chase Center, March 15th. Get tickets now at NIN.com. 9 Inch Nails. Live in San Francisco. Peel It Back Tour 2026.
Doesn't it make you feel better?
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors live, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back. As the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA, even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
San Francisco is on the rebound, and PG&E is helping keep that momentum going. From Mission Bay to Chase Center, we know every assist matters. We're working every day to improve reliability and support the customers who count on us. We're also lowering costs. Residential electric rates have dropped 5 times since 2024. PG&E is committed to making the right plays for this city. PG&E and San Francisco, moving forward together.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
The Curry pump fake, flyby, 3-ball, with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-WHO.
Don't you wish you were here?
This Odyssey Sports broadcast has been brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
McDaniels will dribble it away. Good effort, but a severely undermanned Warrior squad. I mean severely. As the Wolves will take a 24-second shot clock violation, they fall to Minnesota. Podziemski won't shoot it. Or he will. Nope, it's blocked by Kyle Anderson at the buzzer, and the game's over. Final score 127-117.
Another loss for the Warriors, as you just heard the voice of the Warriors, Tim Roy, say 127-117, the final score. The T-Wolves come into chase and they knock off the Warriors. T-Wolves improved to 41-26, and the Warriors suffer their fourth consecutive loss for the first time this season. They are now 2 games below 500 at 32-34, and the Clippers above them in the Western Conference standings are becoming further and further away, and this ultimately might prove to be a whole lot more painful than just one loss in the loss column, because throughout the night today, whether it was just moments before the game tipped off or it was throughout the course of the game, the Warriors lost 4 more players. Draymond Green, a late scratch with lower back tightness. Al Horford played the first 5 minutes, then did not return. He was ruled out in the first quarter with right calf tightness. Seth Curry went to the locker room in the second quarter after an awkward collision with Dante DiVincenzo. In the third quarter, he was ruled out with left adductor soreness. And then in the second half, Quentin Post was ruled out with a left ankle sprain. He did not play at all in the second half. So not only are the Warriors down Steph, and they're down Jimmy, and Moses has been out now for an extended period of time. And, of course, you've been without Kristaps Porzingis. Not tonight. He played tonight and honestly looked pretty good. Probably the biggest positive for the Warriors was Porzingis and how he's looked the last couple of games he's played. But the point is, you've been without him in the recent past. Melton's been in and out. Of course, Horford can't play in back-to-back. You've had all these absences, and then tonight kind of everything comes crashing down at once. Draymond dealing with the lower back thing. I don't think that's serious. This thing has cost him a game or two within the last handful of weeks. There also was a game, I forget which one it was, where he was a late scratch because of that lower back as well. It was that Sunday noon game a couple of weeks ago. I think that was the home game versus Denver. Yeah, it was, where he was ruled out just before that game started because, from what I heard, he wasn't able to get his back loosened up for the early start time on that Sunday. So this has been a recurring minor thing for Draymond. I don't think alarm bells are ringing that he's going to miss an extended period of time, but who knows about the others? Seth Curry, who just worked his way back after 3 months off, an awkward collision, and now he's dealing with left adductor soreness. Al Horford, a right calf issue. The Warriors called it tightness, not a strain. They called it right calf tightness, although Steve Kerr, speaking postgame, said, it's a calf. We're not going to rush him back. We don't know exactly how bad it is, but Steve Kerr didn't exactly say that it's something that he doesn't think is going to cost Al Horford any time. And then Quentin Post as well rolled his ankle. You saw it in the second quarter. He was on the ground for a bit under the Warriors' basket defensively, and he got up and tried to power through it. You could see him limping, and ultimately he did not play in the second half. So this might be, just a loss in terms of the win-loss column tonight, but it remains to be seen just how debilitating tonight was for the Warriors until we find out what the status is for those guys going forward. The good news is that Kristaps Porzingis played, and he played. He had to start tonight because of Draymond's late scratch. So they moved Porzingis into the starting lineup, which was interesting. They played Porzingis and Horford together, which made for an interesting and fun dueling 7-footer look for the Warriors. Al Horford just about. But Horford only played again the first 5 minutes of the game. And then from that point on, you're dealing with no Draymond and no Horford, and you're just trying to stay afloat. And for the majority of the game, the Warriors didn't stay afloat. They were down as many as 25. It felt like the game was over in a couple of instances in the third quarter. The Warriors fought all the way back, and they had a 10-0 run to close the third quarter to go to the fourth down by 13. They got within as many as 7 in the fourth quarter with still plenty of time to come all the way back. But then Anthony Edwards took over, hit a couple of really clutch threes. He finished with 42 points at 8 boards, 5 assists. He was far, far, far away the best player on the floor all night long, and the T-Wolves ultimately win 127-117. Chase got into it in the fourth. Chase Center did, and the Warriors bench was going crazy, although it was a pretty empty Warriors bench by the end of this game because, one, they don't have a ton of players available in the first place, and then you lose 4 players either just before the game begins in Draymond, the late scratch, or the 3 others in the game in Al Horford, Seth Curry, and Quentin Post. And the bench in the second half was mostly filled out by assistant coaches, and that was just about it. There was a point in the fourth quarter where the Warriors, I mean, this is honestly kind of crazy. So not only is, of course, Steph out and Jimmy's out and Jimmy not with the team, I don't think all that often right now, hasn't been with the team at least during games in quite a while. So he's not there on the bench. Steph was on the bench tonight, which was good to see, and I think you could tell that he's kind of chomping at the bit to get back the way that he's moving on the bench. There was a moment where during I don't know if it was a timeout or maybe just a foul call, there was a dead ball, and Jaden McDaniels kind of had the ball in the corner just in front of the Warriors bench during a dead ball and was going to take like a practice three, as players often do during stoppages. And Steph came up off the bench and kind of contested the shot from behind. And when Jaden McDaniels missed it, Steph celebrated because he, that's what Steph does. And if you missed that, you can find it on our social media channels, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook. Just search 957 The Game and it will pop up there for you, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But point is, I think Steph is kind of itching to get back, and we'll talk more about that as we move along here on Warriors Wrap Up. 127-117, the Timberwolves beat the Warriors, 4 consecutive losses for the Dubs for the first time this season. Mark Randy with you. If you want to weigh in, 888-957-9570. Again, 888-957-9570. But again, all the injuries, and then you have all the issues that happen pregame and during the game. So not only are the guys that were out tonight before the game out, but you lose Draymond before the game, and then you lose Horford, Seth Curry, and Quentin Post in the game. And you get to a point in the fourth quarter when D'Anthony Melton has played his allotment of minutes, and Kristaps Porzingis has played his allotment of minutes. And the Warriors' remaining bodies for the rest of the game are this: Pajemski, Guy Santos, Will Richard, Pat Spencer, GP2, LJ Cryer, and Malachi Leons. Those are the Warriors' active and available players that are not pushing up against minutes restrictions when the game is a single-digit game in the fourth quarter against a team coming into today that was 40-26. Like that was just the Warriors' reality tonight. Again, your available players, while the game was still in the balance, and I'm taking away Porzingis and Melton because those guys are on minutes restrictions and they had essentially hit up against those minutes restrictions. Your available players: Pajemski, Guy Santos, Will Richard, Pat Spencer, GP2, LJ Cryer, and Malachi Leons. I'm not here to say any of those players are bad players, and it's an embarrassment that's not my point. It's just a lot of those guys are not long-time or proven NBA guys, and that was the group that the Warriors had to turn to in the fourth quarter when it was a relatively close game. Like, it was not over, really, for the first 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. This game was not over. Now, did you expect the Warriors to win? Was it a 50-50, a coin flip proposition? No. But it's not as if the Warriors were down 25 entering the fourth and Minnesota waved the white flag and the Warriors came all the way back in garbage time. No, this was not that kind of game. In fact, in the fourth quarter, I think Ant Edwards played nearly the full fourth quarter. He played 9.5 minutes in the fourth. So this was the opposite of a white flag game for Minnesota. The Warriors actually kind of held their own in the fourth quarter, led by Brandon Pajemski. Guy Santos scored 13 of his 17 points in the fourth quarter, hit 3 really big threes in the first handful of minutes, helped the Warriors get back within single digits. Malachi Leons had a steal and a dunk that got the Warriors within 7, the closest that they got in this entire game, but just too little too late. You got down by 25 relatively early, and the game wasn't over then, but you knew that in order for you, given who you're playing and who was available and who you lost in this game, you had to be nearly perfect the rest of the way in order to win. And the Warriors were not nearly perfect. They were honestly pretty good for certain stretches of this game, but you just can't get down by 25 in the first place, and they ultimately lose. Again, the final score, 127-117. All right, this is Warriors Wrap Up. Mark Randy with you, coming to you live from Chase Center as we react to another Dub loss. The Warriors have lost 4 consecutive games for the first time this season. They lose 4 bodies tonight in Draymond Green, Al Horford, Seth Curry, and Quinton Post. And now they are entering a 6-game road trip. And it's arguably the toughest road trip of the season for the Warriors. And that's just like one of the body blows facing the Warriors right now. Things are not good. The Warriors have played 22 games since Jimmy Butler tore his ACL. They're 7-15 in those 22. Steph has now missed 16 consecutive games. He's going to miss at least 4 more and probably more than that. The Warriors are 5-11 in those 16 games that Steph has missed. As I mentioned, they've lost 4 games in a row. They're 1-6 in their last 7. They've fallen out of the 8 seed, which they have held for what feels like an eternity this regular season. They're below 500 for the first time since late December, and they're 1-6, as I said, in their last 7 games. And they're entering the most difficult road trip of their season, in my estimation, a 6-game trip, which includes stops in New York versus the Knicks, in Boston versus the Celtics, and in Detroit versus the Pistons. If you were to poll NBA fans from across the league, people would probably say those are the 3 best teams in the East. They are the 3 best teams record-wise. You might get some Cleveland Cavalier answers, considering the way that they have been playing since they acquired James Harden. Either way you slice it, 3 of the best teams in the East are on your upcoming road trip, and you're going to be without Steph for all of those games against those teams specifically. So things are not feeling great right now for the Warriors. It is kind of interesting listening to Steve Kerr talk postgame. And we're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in a little bit here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Again, Mark Randy with you. If you want to weigh in, 888-957-9570. There was a moment where Steve was asked, and it was kind of a funny moment. It got a laugh out of him. I don't know the gentleman's name that asked him the question, but he essentially asked Steve, are you guys fading into, I don't know if he used the word oblivion, but are you guys just fading away this season? And Steve essentially just said, after he got a little bit of a laugh because he couldn't fully understand or hear the question at first, Steve essentially said, no, I mean, this is just kind of what happens at times. He did begin the presser by saying this is like the most injured a team has ever been that he's been a part of, and it's hard to disagree considering 4 different guys went down at different times during the game today, and you're, of course, already down Jimmy for the rest of the season. You've been down Steph for about a month and a half now, and you're going to be without him for at least another week plus or so. So there's no denying that. The point I'm trying to make is in when Steve's been asked some of these more cutting questions about the status of the team and the questions you normally ask a team that's 1-6 in their last 7, that has fallen under 500 for the first time in, approaching 3 months, that is on the verge of falling all the way to the 10th seed in the Western Conference. Like, all those kinds of questions normally are, is this team broken? How do you recover? What are you doing wrong? And you're not really getting a lot of the panic from the Warriors right now. Maybe you can read between the lines, and maybe you're saying, well, Steve's tone wasn't great in that answer. He's not telling us what he really feels. And we can have those conversations if you want. All I'm saying is listening to the Warriors and watching the way that they are attacking certain things right now, it doesn't feel to me like the Warriors think they are letting something slip away from them right now. And it's not that they don't care about being in the play-in. It's just I think they're pretty real when it comes to what the standings say is possible to them right now. And in my opinion, what the standings say to the Warriors is you're going to be in the play-in, you're not going to be the 7, and, I mean, what they have probably come to accept within the last week, you're not going to be the 8, and now you're just fighting for either the 9 or the 10. And I know me saying you're not going to be the 8 seed might surprise some of you, considering entering the day you were just a game behind the Clippers. Now you are 2 games behind the Clippers. They've won 4 in a row. You've lost 4 in a row, so that has shifted dramatically over the last week. it feels unlikely that the Warriors are going to be the 8. You have to gain a couple of games on the Clippers. In fact, you have to be 3 games better than them the rest of the way because the tiebreaker is in all likelihood going to go their way. You have an incredibly tough schedule. The Clippers don't have an incredibly tough schedule, which means the reality for the Warriors is being the 9 seed or the 10 seed. And if that's all that's up for grabs, I don't think the Warriors are losing their minds over this 4-game losing streak. Now, maybe you want them to, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. Just the way in which they're answering these questions, the way in which they're treating some of their injured players, I don't think it's a sky is falling, we're in terrible danger. This doesn't feel like a normal 1-6 stretch based on how the Warriors are treating it. They seem to be maybe the right phrase is resigned to their reality. They're not happy about it, but I do think they know that their reality is either being the 9 or the 10 seed, and regardless of if you're the 9 or if you're the 10, you have to win 2 play-in games just to earn the right to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So are they happy about what's going on? No, but are they absolutely ripping their hair out at these results the last couple of nights, last couple of games? I don't think that's the case either. Does not mean that they don't want to win in those play-in games and go to a postseason series, but it's not as if they feel like Steph has to come back right now, and Al with his calf tightness, we're going to play him through that, and Draymond with a lower back thing, we have to push him through this, and he has to play tonight because we have to win this game. I don't think they're feeling that kind of pressure right now. That's just my read on the situation. What they have determined, in my opinion, that is important for them to accomplish the rest of this regular season is to figure out what the hell Kristaps Porzingis is as a basketball player and just as a healthy human being, and figure out if they want to bring him back next year. And if Steph is ready to go at some point at the end of the regular season and maybe plays in the play-in and who knows in a postseason series beyond that, figure out if Steph and Kristaps work well together. That feels like priority number 1 for the Warriors. Everything beyond that is just, secondary, at least in terms of what they're hoping to gain in the regular season, right? They're not going to rush Steph back because the only thing that rushing Steph back might accomplish in terms of a good thing is being the 9 seed instead of the 10 seed. And the way that I see it, you have to go to Portland or you have to host Portland here and beat them and then win either of those games and then either take on the Suns or the Clippers potentially in the second play-in game just to take on OKC. Like, it's not that big of a difference in my opinion. So the Warriors, I think, in terms of their priorities for the rest of the regular season, it's don't let anybody else suffer any major kind of injury and see what the hell you have with Kristaps Porzingis. And that's to me kind of where they're coming from right now. And if we view the regular season through that prism, I do think it makes a little bit more sense the way things are going right now. Because, again, of course you want Steph back, and if Steph was available to play and he was 100%, then he'd be playing right now. But he's clearly not, and it's not as if, like, we'll put it this way. If the postseason were going on right now and the Warriors were the 4 seed and they were taking on the Nuggets in a 4 versus 5 matchup or whatever it was, would Steph be playing right now? I don't 100% know the answer to that question, but I would not be surprised if the answer was yes. But again, it's what exactly are the Warriors even pushing somebody back for in this very moment, considering really the only thing that you have in your control, in my opinion, is being the 9 or the 10 seed. And that big of a it's not a big enough difference to really force the Warriors' hands in terms of rushing anybody back from an injury. So I do think the Porzingis question is a fun one, and I want to talk about Porzingis when we come back. Plus, we will hear from Steve Kerr, and I do think the Steph conversation in terms of his injury is one that we got to get to as well. We will do all of that. Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves dominate the Warriors for nearly 3 full quarters. Warriors make it semi-interesting in the fourth, get within 7 after trailing by as many as 25, but they still lose 127-117. This is Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you live from Chase Center. Let's take a break. All that and more coming up as we continue. It's Warriors Wrap-Up right here on 95.7 The Game.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce website that could handle the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WebNow1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
Looking for lifelong financial guidance? Look no further than Pettinelli Financial Partners, your dedicated financial coaches for every stage of life's journey. Whether you're planning for retirement, starting a family, or buying a home, we're here for you every step of the way. Visit PettinelliFP.com. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos and Pettinelli are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey. More like Mirajoyed. That Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at your local retailer.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
Hey, Bay Area sports fans, get ready for game day with Laughing Monk Brewing. Whether you're watching with friends or heading out after the final whistle, Laughing Monk has the perfect beer for the moment. With locations in Sunnyvale, Scotts Valley, and Bayview in San Francisco, there's always a monk nearby. And now, check out their newest San Francisco location in Nopa. From crisp lagers to bold IPAs, every beer is righteously brewed in San Francisco. Grab a pint, grab your crew, and make game day better at Laughing Monk Brewing. Righteously brewed in San Francisco.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
That's the sound of James adding long-lasting Gain scent boosters to his laundry this morning. Several hours later, James sniffs the irresistible scent of Gain on his shirt. Gain. Several hours later, James has even caught the attention of his mother-in-law, and she never gives him attention.
Ooh, you smell amazing, James.
Oh, thanks, Mom. I love you too.
I never said that.
Add Gain Scent Boosters to your laundry. Add joy to your day.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/protect. That's ethos.com/protect. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Edwards guarded by Payton. Edwards crossover dribble. Hounded by Payton outside. Screen by Gobert. Edwards has it stolen by Malafai-Leon, who takes a big step and he dunked it down. A two-hand slam. It's 109-102.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, that was probably the loudest Chase was all night. That Malafai-Leon's steal and dunk made it a 7-point game after trailing by as many as 25. Felt like the Warriors might shock the world for a moment. You could hear Chase roaring in the background. That got the Warriors within 7. That was the closest they would get, though. Quickly thereafter, after the Warriors got it to 7, Ant Edwards hit like consecutive threes, and I mean, he was just amazing tonight. 42 points. He got to the line 12 times, made all of those, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. We're talking about this game in terms of X's and O's. I don't think there's really a ton to talk about. We're going to talk about Porzingis, and I think he's showing that he is a fit, and I don't think that surprises many of us. The question was, how often was he going to be available? When he was available, I think most of us figured he was going to look pretty darn good, and he has. But if we're going to break down this game from an X's and O's standpoint, I think it starts and ends with defending Anthony Edwards. And one thing that really hurt the Warriors, and I think it's something that is probably slipping a ton of people's minds, it's remember what happened with Draymond Green on the last road trip. It's partly why they beat the Rockets in Houston, and it's why they were so competitive against OKC in OKC. It's because Draymond Green was taking the task of defending the opposing team's best offensive player. Doesn't matter if you're Shea, a point guard, or you're a 7-foot wing in Kevin Durant, or you're one of the tallest, most physical specimens in the league in Kawhi Leonard. Draymond is going to guard that guy, and he done a pretty good, through those 3 games, pretty darn good job, specifically on KD and SGA. I thought he was excellent defensively, and I feel pretty confident that the Warriors were going to throw Draymond on Anthony Edwards, at least for decent chunks tonight. And then they find out that Draymond Green's a late scratch, and your whole defensive game plan just goes up in smoke before the game even starts, and you don't have a ton of time to try to figure out a new game plan. So the question everybody's asking themselves is, how the hell do we stop Ant? Not stop him. You can't stop him. How the hell do we try to defend Anthony Edwards? Well, Melton began on him. You saw some GP2 on him. And then there were moments when neither of those two were on the floor. And it was Guy Santos for a bit. He drove past him and either scored at the paint, threw a lob to Rudy Gobert, or got fouled and got to the free throw line. There were moments when Podziemski was on Anthony Edwards, and he was able to drive past him as well, draw fouls. Will Richard took a turn or two on him. That didn't end well. There was a moment where, multiple moments of this, where either it's in kind of a transition situation where the Warriors defense isn't set, and it doesn't have to be like a legitimate fast break scoring opportunity, but if the opposing team, say off a Porzingis missed 3 or whatever the case was, they get a defensive rebound and they quick outlet pass it to Anthony Edwards or to whoever, maybe to DiVincenzo or to Jaden McDaniels, doesn't matter who, you just get the ball up the floor quick enough, the defense can't set up their ideal matchups. So even if, say, Draymond was on the floor, but Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves are pushing the tempo, and Draymond's on the left side of the floor and Ant's on the right, guess what? On that possession, at least to begin the possession, Draymond can't guard Ant. And there were a couple of times where today, And it happened specifically in the second quarter, and it caused Steve Kerr to call timeout because the T-Wolves were getting out in transition on like 5 straight possessions, and they were getting great looks at the rim as a result. And a big part of it was because a player like L.J. Cryer in kind of that quasi-fast break was getting matched up with Anthony Edwards. And what the Timberwolves do a great job of is when Ant has a mismatch like that, they just get him the ball, and Ant goes to work. And what happened pretty often in that second quarter, which is when they built that really big lead for the first time, they just relentlessly attacked those mismatches. And at times it was the Warriors, like it was who they had to throw on him. L.J. Cryer they never intentionally put on Ant Edwards, but there were times where without Draymond available and with both Melton and GP2 off the court, the Warriors were purposely matching up Podziemski on him a couple of times. And even that feels like a mismatch if you're the T-Wolf. So it's just give the ball to Ant and let him go to work. Either drive and score, drive and get fouled, drive and throw a lob to Rudy Gobert, or because they're fearing the drive so much, hit the step-back 3, which he did multiple times. This was just a game where you can't defend Anthony Edwards. All right, this ball game is probably over, unless you on the other side have a great shooting night, and the Warriors shot 40% from the field and 31% from downtown. All right, if Ant scores 42 and he gets his way and you shoot 40% from the field and 31% from deep, you lose. And that's kind of what tonight was for the Warriors. It's kind of as simple as that in terms of an X's and O's conversation. And the Warriors lose 127-117. Their 4th consecutive loss, their longest losing streak of the season. They're 2 games below 500, and they're now a full 2 games behind the Clippers for the 8th seed. The Clippers 2 games up on the Warriors. They are the 8, and the Warriors are the 9. The Clippers, they played today. They hosted the Chicago Bulls, and they won 119-108. Also, bad news in Portland. The Blazers beat the Jazz, so the Blazers are only now a half game behind the Warriors, and the Warriors are teetering on the brink of falling all the way down to the 10 seed in the Western Conference. And considering what the Warriors' schedule is coming up, they have road games in New York versus the Knicks, in Boston versus the Celtics, and in Detroit versus the Pistons, all coming up within like the next week or so. It would not be terribly surprising if when the Warriors return home from their 6-game road trip, they are the 10 seed. I don't think that would surprise a ton of people around the league. All right. 888-957-9570. More to say about Porzingis, plus something I'm noticing with the Warriors offense, which maybe is kind of goes against conventional belief. It's about Warriors turnovers. We're going to get to that coming up in a little bit as well. Plus, we will hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. But let's go out to the phone lines here, 888-957-9570. Eric is in Millbrae, and he begins us off here on the phone lines. What's up, Eric? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. What do you got?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, what's up, man? Just a bummer, man. It's just with these injuries, I don't care who you are. You could in San Antonio, you take away your 2 best players and your key stars and guys off the bench. You're just not going to compete, man. Especially when there's only 5 guys on the court, unlike other sports. So it's just it's rough to watch. These guys are battling their butts off, but it's just they're such at a talent advantage. You know, they're fighting out there. But you know, when you have guys, 2A guys out there, G League guys like Malovic, Leons, and Cryer, you're just not going to compete when against these top tier teams. And credit to them because they played. You know, they won some shocking games that we didn't expect against the Rockets, and even they had OKC on the ropes there, fully healthy there on a road game. But it's just when it comes down to it, at the crunch time, you just don't have the playmakers to get it done in the end. And it's going to be rough, man, especially with this upcoming road trip. As you mentioned right now, they're playing the top-tier teams in the East coming out to contend out of the East to get to the finals. So, man, but by the time this losing streak might go on a little longer than we expect. So it's just I hate that sometimes in all of sports, number one thing is injuries can derail any team's season. I just think the Warriors, man, it's just a curse of injuries this season, and it's unfortunate, man, because I think they could have been a top 4 or 5 seed, and we've seen flashes, but like I mentioned, man, when you got guys out like you're just not going to make it. And now by the time they come back, unlike the previous years when they were the playing team, they're probably going to be the 9 or 10 seed, and they're not going to be the home team. So they're going to have an uphill battle. And with the way the Clippers are going and the Suns are rolling, the team, for some reason, they always struggle to beat Portland. It's going to be rough, man. So all we can hope is, knock on wood, that we get Curry back, a healthy Porzingis, and Draymond's rolling. And when the play-in starts, they're good to go, because it's going to be just miraculous, man, just to get out of the play and get that 8 seed this year with the way the season's going. So credit to these guys, man, battling your butts out. They needed Ant-Man to play the whole fourth quarter against this team to pull it off. So, hey, the one thing you can say about this team is, even with that talent advantage, they're still battling out there, and it's just it's rough. They just got a talent advantage, and ultimately they're going to come up short in these games. So it's going to get ugly, man, on this road trip. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe they'll shock us again, but it's going to be a shocker, though, man. All right, man. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Eric. I mean, look, you are right, and I've said it a number of times on recent Warriors wrap-ups. This is not a moral victories organization. But to Eric's point, you just look at who these teams were playing in the fourth quarter. The most common, five the players that played the most minutes for these teams in the fourth quarters today. Like, let me just read it to you. Jaden McDaniels for Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Ayo Dosunmu, and Naz Reid. Those were the 5 that played the most minutes for Minnesota in the fourth quarter. The 5 that played the most minutes for the Warriors in the fourth quarter: Brandon Pajemski, Guy Santos, Malachi Leons, LJ Cryer, and then it was Will Richard. That was the 5 that played the most minutes for the Warriors in the fourth quarter. Again, you got nothing from Al Horford in the fourth quarter, nothing from Quentin Post, and nothing from Seth Curry, because they all got hurt in the game. Draymond Green was a late scratch, so he, of course, was unavailable. We know that Steph and Jimmy are unavailable. And then on top of that, if you were to say, okay, after all those guys, Warriors, who are your 2 best players? You might say D'Anthony Melton and Kristaps Porzingis. Well, guess what? They're on a minutes restriction, and they played a combined 6.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. Combined 6.5 minutes. So once you get towards the tail end of the fourth quarter, when the game is still up in the air and you're within shouting distance, you got within 7 in the fourth quarter, you're trotting out there, again, the only players that you really have available, because they're either out for the game with an injury or they have butted up against a minutes restriction. Your available players to combat Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, your available players are, and this is all you have available: Pajemski, Guy Santos, Will Richard, Pat Spencer, GP2, LJ Cryer, and Malachi Leons. And the Warriors were in it. So again, this is not a moral victories organization, but the fact that you were down as many as 25, including 23 late in the third, got within 13 to begin the fourth quarter, got within 7 in the fourth quarter, and fought as hard as you possibly could. Frankly, I was impressed. And Steve Kerr talked about it post-game. We're going to hear from Steve coming up, how proud he was of the fight. I know that's probably getting a little old to hear if you're a Warrior fan, because that is basically the only positive that anyone can say about the team right now. But it is the reality. It is the reality that they are playing really, really dang hard. It's just it's not resulting in any wins, because again, the players that they're relying on, like tonight in the fourth quarter, are not franchise leaders. They're not all-stars. Most of them aren't even entrenched NBA players. You're talking about Guy Santos being the second most entrenched NBA player out of the group. That's GP2. Pajemski, GP2, and then Guy. Probably the third most entrenched NBA player that you have access to play in the fourth quarter of a relatively tight game. If you're expecting them to win this basketball game tonight, then I got news for you. You're probably letting your Warriors-colored sunglasses shade your opinion on what's going to happen on the court tonight. The Timberwolves have Anthony Edwards, and he scored 42 points tonight. That happens. All right, you tip your cap, and you say, all right, we did not catch them on a bad night. They played all right. They win, we lose, we move on. And that's kind of the reality the Warriors are facing right now. 888-957-9570. Let's go back out to the phone lines. Josh in San Jose is up next. What's up, Josh? You're on Warriors Wrap Up.
Hey, what's up? So basically, I'm just gonna try to keep it brief as I can. I would take tonight's victory at the glass half full. Like, Green's out, everybody's out. We're just playing with our G League people. But on the bright side, this is the great time for Porzingis to get used to Kerr's system more, to gel with the team more, and if we make the playoffs this year, great. But I think the bigger picture here is next season when everybody's fully healthy. So even if we don't make the playoffs, I'd say this win, and in the previous games as well as at the Rockets game against a fully healthy Rocket squad, and especially tonight's squad as well, a fully healthy T-Wolves squad, and we still kept ourselves in the game, like we were close to coming back. I'd say this is a very bright spot. Now, nothing is guaranteed in this league, but that's what I can take away from this game. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Josh. I mean, look, I don't think maybe I'm totally misjudging how Warrior fans feel, and if I am, you can let me know. 888-957-9570. Again, 888-957-9570. I don't think a lot of Warrior fans are prepared to, again, do what Josh is talking about, which is, kind of have a moral victory kind of game. But, like, you can see the way that Porzingis alongside Steph and, hell, Jimmy Butler would work. Like, you could see how that would work. We also saw in a very limited, number of minutes how Draymond playing alongside a big in Porzingis and or Horford, like, that works too. Like, there are, like, puzzle pieces here that look promising, that we're yet to see how they work together, and frankly, we may never see how they work together, because the biggest puzzle piece waiting is Jimmy Butler as he comes back from the ACL, and maybe it doesn't ever look good, or maybe when he does, Porzingis is no longer a Warrior, which is certainly possible. But I don't think I'm that crazy to say a group that includes Steph and Jimmy and Porzingis and Draymond and, Moses Moody and Al Horford and Brandon Pajemski, like, that doesn't sound like a bad basketball team at all. That, frankly, sounds like a pretty good basketball team. Now, again, so much has to work out in order for that group even to see 1 second together on the floor. But, like, there are some puzzle pieces here. They're just really far apart from each other. But there are some puzzle pieces here. But again, it's we're a long ways from that kind of paying off, which is why it is difficult to kind of accept, the moral victory, which was tonight, and what was that OKC loss, last weekend, 6 days ago now, whenever that was, on Saturday, I believe. Like, well, we may eventually see it pay off. Maybe we won't. But the reality that the Warrior fans, I think, have to face right now is there's not going to be a lot of victories in the standings, at least until Steph Curry comes back. And who knows when he's going to come back. But right now, there's not much else to really hang your hat on other than, wow, well, Porzingis looked good today, right? Like, imagine when he's playing next to Steph. It's kind of what you got right now. 888-957-9570. Jonathan was at the game tonight, and he wants to talk about it. What's up, Jonathan? You're on Warriors Wrap Up with Mark Grandy. What do you got?
Hey, Mark. I guess it was too much to ask to beat both Denver and Minnesota. I will say, I love the first quarter. Second quarter put me to sleep. I felt like I was right back at my grandparents' cemetery in Fort Lauderdale. I don't think I've heard Chase Center that quiet. Third quarter, they made, they finally made a run, won the quarter, and then fourth quarter, as you said, got within 7. I really liked the effort. in the second half. It's just not reality right now. I'm sitting here looking at, strangely, I would not be in the position I'm in had they lost to the Heat on the 19th. But because they beat them, it will come down to whether or not on the 25th they can beat Brooklyn. And I'm wondering, is that a possibility for when Steph can be back? I'm not counting on it, but it would sure help. I would hope they could handle the Nets without him if they had to. But, right now, nothing's guaranteed. It really has been one of the most roller coaster, not only basketball seasons I've experienced, but just seasons for winter sports. What my hockey season was like this year. And, of course, the tragedy with my mom. So I've experienced everything this winter. And as much as I'm going to miss Chase Center during the summer, I can't wait to get to Oracle Park. I'm going to FanFest tomorrow and coming right back here because I'm ready for baseball. This winter has been awful.
Yeah, Jonathan, I appreciate the call, and again, I wish you nothing but the best with your family and all that. I mean, you talk about that Brooklyn game coming up, which is the Warriors' next home game after this 6-game road trip. The road trip is in New York versus the Knicks, at Washington, at Boston, at Detroit, at Atlanta, at Dallas. If you were to ask Warrior fans what's their record on that road trip, it's probably 2-4 at the very best. Most people would probably say like 1-5, honestly. And then you return home, and maybe that is the day when Steph comes back. Steph's going to get reevaluated a week from tomorrow. So Saturday, the 21st, is when he's due to be reevaluated. At least that's when the Warriors have said he will be reevaluated. And normally they're good at kind of sticking to their word in those senses. That is the day of the game in Atlanta. I would be absolutely amazed and shocked and blown away if he were to play on the same day of when he was reevaluated. So I don't think he'd play in that game, which means in the way my mind works, the most likely, or the first game that he could possibly come back for is the final game of the trip in Dallas. And if it's not that, then maybe it is that home game against Brooklyn. But again, do the Warriors really feel like they have to absolutely ASAP get Steph Curry back right now? What they're really battling for, again, with a bad result for the Warriors tonight in terms of their game and the Clippers game. The Clippers won, the Warriors lost. You're now 2 full games behind the Clippers, and the Clippers are, in all likelihood, going to have the tiebreaker over you when the season comes to a close. You have to be 3 games better than the Clippers the rest of the way, and considering what your schedule looks like and what their schedule looks like, I think catching the Clippers and being the 8th seed almost feels out of the question for the Warriors. It almost feels that way. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting really close. If the Warriors are being real with themselves, and I guarantee you they are, they're feeling like they're going to be either the 9 or the 10 seed. And how much is it worth it to make that 9-10 play-in game at home versus in Portland, when knowing that even if you win that game, you still have to then win another game, and that other game is going to be on the road just to take on OKC in the first round. So what is it worth bringing Steph back? And frankly, if you spend enough time here around Chase Center, you begin to hear some rumblings here and there. And what I have been hearing a little bit is within the building, there are maybe some disagreements about when to bring Steph back, maybe even if Steph should come back at all. I think the Warriors in general are going to be pretty darn patient, and maybe there's certain members of the organization that are in, pretty important roles that think they should be so patient to the point where maybe he doesn't come back. That is kind of the scuttlebutt around the organization a little bit, that maybe there's, I'm not talking about like pounding the table and loud arguments about when should we bring Steph back, but I do think there are some differing opinions that are going on around Chase Center right now in terms of when should Steph come back. What is it really worth at this point? Steph will say that he wants to play whenever he's able to play. He probably wants to play right now, honestly. Just looking at the way that he's moving on the bench, you almost can sense how much he's itching to get back out there. But I don't know what Warriors decision makers, the suits are going to want to happen, considering the way that it seems like this season is heading. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I don't think it is also a given that the Warriors, in fact, I feel pretty confident it's not a given that the Warriors are being like, ASAP, Steph comes back, ASAP. Like, I don't feel that kind of urgency really in anything the Warriors are doing right now, because it's not as if being urgent is really going to change much in terms of what you're capable of accomplishing before the regular season ends. You're in all likelihood going to be the 9 or the 10 seed. And I don't view a gigantic difference in that 9-10 game either being here or being in Portland. Joe Lacob would like it to be, they would all like it to be here. Joe Lacob would like to make the however many millions of dollars it is they get from a single home game, like $4 million or whatever it is from a home game. He'd like that extra cash, I guarantee you that. But in terms of the team accomplishing something on the court, I don't know if being at home or being in Portland for the first of 2 play-in games you have to win really makes that big of a difference. So something to monitor. Steph isn't going to be reevaluated again until next Saturday, so 8 days from now. But if that update 8 days from now isn't he's going to now play on this date, that wouldn't terribly surprise me again, because some of the scuttlebutt that I'm hearing around the building in terms of maybe how certain people feel about bringing him back, or some people feel about, just don't risk anything for what next year might be. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. I see all of you. If you hang out and you stay patient, we will get to you. I know a lot of you guys want to weigh in. First of all, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, and Odyssey Sports Station, and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app, coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios. Ralph is in Minnesota and wants to weigh in. What's up, Ralph? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. Grandy with you. What do you got?
Well, what I got is I think the team is actually got a best chance of winning it all, and I'm sure they think about that, knowing they're the Warriors, to be the number 10 seed in this sense. That, number one, they obviously have to get their best players back, and they may be so experienced they just need a few games to be ready for the play-in. Number two, they have to face Oklahoma City with their players healthy. And so this is one way to meet them when they're healthy. The way the officiating's going this year, players are getting injured every game. And there's little chance that they would beat Oklahoma City without their best players. And also, probably not just with their best players. What they're going to need is some players who are right now in the bottom half of the team to step up and help win clutch games against OKC. In the current situation, those players are getting clutch playing time. They're having to make the big shot, the big play, whatever. So it's my opinion that they're actually in a pretty interesting position.
Yeah, Ralph, I appreciate the call. I do think a Warriors fan's ability to accept their play-in fate, and I think now specifically what is becoming clear is their play-in fate is the 9-10 experience, which again means you have to win 2 play-in games, and at least one of them will be on the road just to be the number 8 seed and to take on the defending NBA champion OKC Thunder, and who is in all likelihood going to be the back-to-back MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then the easier it is to, I think, enjoy watching the rest of the season. And, like, for example, one of the few things, and I think it's the most important thing for the Warriors right now, like, this might sound crazy to say. The wins and losses for the Warriors might not be the priority right now. Of course, they're always going to prepare and try to win as many games as they possibly can. But again, when you consider what the opportunity cost is of, winning versus losing games right now, like, it's not like you're gaining all that much or losing all that much based on the result. You're not going to miss the play-in entirely. And I know there are a lot of Warrior fans out there who think missing the play-in would not be the worst case, a.k.a. fans that want the Warriors to tank to improve their draft status. Even if they were to lose the rest of their games this season, they still probably would be in the play-in. That's how bad the teams are behind them, and I know some of those teams behind them have beaten them lately, specifically the Utah Jazz. They are so far behind them, that's never going to happen. But you get my point. There's not a whole lot that is out there for the Warriors to really gain by winning games. Not that they're trying to lose on purpose, but it kind of takes the pressure off in that sense. And what I'm interested in finding out is how good can Porzingis be? How available can Porzingis be? And if Steph comes back in the regular season, how do those two look together? Like, you watch Warriors basketball right now and just focus in on specifically the Porzingis minutes. Just specifically the Porzingis minutes. When Porzingis is on the floor and he plays about 20 minutes a night, when Porzingis is on the floor, just watch what the Warriors do offensively. When Porzingis is on the floor, what the Warriors do is they run plays for him almost every trip down. Everything is running through Porzingis. Because what the Warriors are doing is they're saying, okay, we're in an information gathering stage. We want to win, and maybe we think, honestly, running things for Porzingis in his limited minutes is the way to win, and they might be right. Like, are the Warriors running things through Porzingis by necessity because they don't want to run things through anybody else, and he might be their best bet at scoring? That's probably true. But the other half of this, and I think the half that is probably winning out more than anything else, is the Warriors want to find out what the hell they got in this dude. And so when Porzingis plays his 20 minutes, we're going to take advantage of those 20 minutes. We're going to give him the ball every single trip down, let him do his patented free throw line or elbow, jab step, cross, step back, pump fake, try to draw the foul. Let him do those moves over and over and over. Let him, back cut from the baseline off of a down screen for a dunk. He had a nice, leaping catch and in one motion reverse layup on a similar play like that in the first half off of Guy Santos' assist. Just run everything through Porzingis. See how much of a load he can handle. See if he can be effective in that sense in this offense. And make your decision on what contract you want to give him in the offseason as a result. That kind of feels like the Warriors' number one priority. It's figure out what the hell they have in Porzingis. And if Steph comes back, then you figure out what those two are together. If he doesn't, then you make a decision without knowing that. But it feels like that is the Warriors' priority right now. And again, that might be their best strategy, best chance of trying to win basketball games, because who else are you drawing things up for offensively in the moment? But when Porzingis is on the floor, you just say, all right, KP, this is for you. Let's see what you got. And for the most part tonight, it was pretty good. He scored 20 points, 7 of 16 from the field, 2 of 5 from downtown, got to the line 4 times, made them all. In terms of Porzingis on the floor, the returns have only been positive, and today I thought was really positive for Porzingis. So that's why maybe what my man Ralph, who just called in, is talking about. I know he's not talking about that specifically, but maybe why he's talking about how the Warriors are in an interesting spot right now. Part of it is because they kind of have the freedom to just do whatever the hell they think is most interesting or what is beneficial to them in terms of an information gathering standpoint, and that's kind of where the Warriors are. Now, on the surface, that might be fun to say and talk about when you zoom out and you look at this from a macro view. It is kind of depressing because we're talking about how maybe the results of the game are secondary. But again, looking at the standings, I don't know how you couldn't really feel otherwise right now. 888-957-9570. Steven is in Petaluma, and he wants to weigh in. What's up, Steven? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. We love the show. We're coming back from the game. I just want to say right off the bat, I'm totally down with a moral victory here. I'm totally loving these guys and the way that they're playing. And, we went to actually the Minnesota Timberwolves game back in December, I think it was, this year. And, what a night and day difference of a feeling of a game after the game. We lost that game, too.
Steph scored 39 in that game, I think, Steven.
Yeah, but nobody else did. We were full of mistakes, and I forget all the things that went wrong, but there were many. And he just left the stadium feeling lousy. And tonight, obviously not a win, but just hustle all the way through. Love seeing these guys play. And I guess I can appreciate what you're saying about Porzingis kind of being this piece of the puzzle we want. Could you maybe speak to, I feel like there's some silver lining here with all the other guys, this deep bench that's getting all these minutes now, where all these different players are stepping into, whether it's bringing the ball up the court, running plays through them. You got Pat, you got Guy, you got all these guys getting minutes they haven't gotten before, and just in a new role. How can that factor positively into, I don't know, like a strategy for next season, like looking ahead? This year is what it is, but I don't know, are we going to be able to leverage some of this experience with these guys? And I'll take my answer off the air. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Steven. Drive safe back up to Sonoma County. So I mean, the name that jumps out to me, I think, first of all, and you would probably agree, Steven, I think most Warrior fans would, is Guy Santos. Guy Santos has been given an opportunity, and he's earned it. He deserves it. The reason he's gotten it probably is not because he's earned it and deserved it, but because it's been necessary from the Warriors with all their injuries. You kind of have no choice but to kind of give the opportunity to someone like Guy Santos, and he's taken it and run with it. I do think he's probably at a point where maybe his body doesn't feel great because he's playing way more minutes than he's ever played before, and he's taking kind of a beating. He landed really awkwardly, like on his shoulder and hip in the first half today. Really early in the game, it was a really loud fall. You can hear it in the arena when he hit the ground. He's probably not feeling great in terms of physically. He's probably feeling great emotionally and confidence-wise, and he scored 17 more points today, had 3 rebounds, 8 assists, only turned the ball over once, was a volume scorer, but kind of was forced to be. He had a great fourth quarter, made 3 threes early in that fourth quarter, was a big reason why the Warriors got within 7 in that fourth. It was because of Guy. That's absolutely a thing that you can point to, and you say no matter how this season ends, and no matter what happens in the offseason, whether it's, an extension for Porzingis or another big move or whatever it is, one thing that you have going into next year that you did not have coming into this year is we know Guy Santos is an NBA player. And not just like this 15th guy, and he's only going to play for the final minute of a garbage time game, which was like largely the Guy experience for the first, couple of years that we knew him here in Golden State. That's not the case anymore. And maybe you could say the same thing for someone like a Pat Spencer. I don't think it's nearly as cut and dry as the Guy Santos experience. Will Richard is benefiting from playing pretty regular and large and meaningful minutes as well. I think the one that stands out above the rest, though, is is Guy Santos, talking to Steven in Petaluma, our last caller. Maybe LJ Cryer runs with this experience over the final. Warriors have, 16 games left now. LJ Cryer's minutes are dependent on Steph not playing. I would imagine the second that Steph comes back, LJ Cryer's minutes dissipate. But who knows how long Steph's going to be out for continuing. It's going to be at least for 4 more games. I'm guessing at least 5 more games. I don't think he's going to play on the day in which he gets reevaluated. But maybe we begin to have a conversation about LJ Cryer in the future. I think it's specifically Guy Santos right now, maybe a bit about someone like Will Richard, although he was getting pretty meaningful minutes even before, the Steph injury and the Jimmy injury as well. And we saw, I think, how good he can be in spurts. But yeah, the silver lining that Steven is talking about is at least this season was one of the positives that came out of this season is a better way to put it, was figuring out who Guy Santos was. And we figured out that he is an NBA rotation piece. I do think that he is good enough to be that. Texaco on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 The Game, says he's an NBA role player. And yeah, you're probably right with that. We did not know that before this season, and we probably did not know that as recently as 2 months ago. But we do now, and that is, again, information gathering that the Warriors I think, is their priority right now going forward. 888-957-9570. Appreciate all the calls. Let's keep it rolling here because Chardol is in Fremont and wants to weigh in. What's up, Chardol? You're on Warriors Wrap Up.
Hey, Mark Brandy. I'm a big fan of you. I tune into your show on 95.7 The Game after every Warriors game. This was a tough game. Minnesota Timberwolves take down the Golden State Warriors 127-117. Anthony Edwards had 42 points. He's always a straight up killer. He knows how to shoot the basketball. He balls out every single night. But yeah, we had so many chances to win this game, man. We couldn't execute. We got overplayed. We got out hustled by this impressive Timberwolves team. They got Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, and Julius Randle, three best players on the Timberwolves right now. But we got to bounce back against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden in New York City. We gotta come back and win that game, break this 4-game losing streak. But it was great calling the Warriors up. But then I love all the insights. I love calling in. Love everything about you. I'm definitely calling in every single time. Keep it rocking, and I hope you have a great night.
Thanks, Chardol. You too. Talk to you on Sunday for Warriors versus Knicks. There's going to be a challenge. Knicks are one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and the Warriors are beaten, battered, and bruised right now. 4 consecutive losses, and as Steve Kerr said post-game, this is as banged up of a team that he's ever been a part of. And speaking of what Steve Kerr said, let's hear from Steve Kerr. Delayed it a bit because I wanted to get to all your phone calls. I appreciate all you guys for chiming in. Don't have a ton more time for your calls, so if you want to get them in, do so right now, 888-957-9570. Let's hear from Steve Kerr. Then we'll wrap things up after that as the Dubs fall here at Chase Center tonight to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 127-117. 4 consecutive losses. Dubs 1-6 in their last 7. They're now 2 full games behind the Clippers. Clippers are the 8. Warriors are the 9, 2 games back. And the Blazers, who won today, are now just a half game behind the Warriors. They're sitting in 10, and the Warriors are dangerously close to falling all the way down to the 10 spot. All right, here's Steve Kerr post-game tonight after the Dubs fell to the T-Wolves by 10. Here is the coach of the Dubs.
What's the concern level on Draymond's back?
Again, I don't know. He was a late scratch, and I haven't talked to Rick or anybody.
How do you think Porzingis looked tonight?
I thought he looked great. He's clearly, starting to find a rhythm. He's such an intriguing player. The way he shoots it, the space, the rim protection defensively, and obviously we really want to get him out there with Steph and see what that looks like. Kristaps seems to be getting more and more comfortable.
How would you say his stamina is at this point after a few games?
It looked better tonight. We're still trying to keep him around 20 minutes, but I thought he looked better tonight physically than the other night. So hopefully that'll continue to build.
What ways do you think he looked better physically, movement-wise, or
just movement and his comfort level? More familiar with what we're trying to do at both ends and getting comfortable with the terminology.
Is that like as you're trying to manage game?
Well, you don't have a choice. You just keep trying to shuttle guys in and try to find combinations that click. We found a few in the second half, and there was a good rhythm to the game. And we've got multiple guys on minutes restrictions too. So Seth Cooper handles the rotation stuff. And then, he's got it all on his iPad, and as we adjust, he's having to make adjustments to make sure our guys don't go over their minutes restriction. So there's a lot. It's a Rubik's Cube right now, trying to figure that out.
And how did you see Pods try to captain those moments and create some offense?
He did a great job. I thought Brandon had a really effective game. He's aggressive, and he rebounds the ball so well. He seems to be in the right spots all the time defensively. Long rebounds, loose balls, that kind of thing. And I liked how aggressive he was, from the three-point line tonight.
Was Porzingis going to the starting lineup? Was that part of the Rubik's cubing when Draymond got?
Yeah, as soon as Draymond went out, Kristaps went in. we even though he could only play 20 minutes, we wanted to give those two guys a look, Kristaps and Al.
Do you see him in the starting lineup more going forward?
Well, I mean, with Al, with the calf strain, I mean, I have no idea, how long Al will be out, but I would anticipate, with the calf, we're not going to rush him back. So if that's the case and Al's back, then we'd put Kristaps in the starting lineup.
Steve over here. Sorry. Obviously, the injuries have taken its toll with this team, but the way the losses keep building up with you guys, is this team starting to fade into obscurity right now?
Is the team what?
Starting to fade into obscurity.
Starting
to fade into obscurity.
Fade? Are we fading into obscurity? I thought masks were fading into no, I'm sorry. That's, we've just hit a spell where we're just getting wiped out, and it happens occasionally. And I'm excited about when we get healthy, when we have Steph and Moses and Al and Kristaps and the whole group with all these young guys, the experience they're getting. I think they're going to be that much better once we get back. And I just feel like there's actually brighter days ahead. So you just have to get through the tough spot,
Part of that Rubik's Cube is the guys that are healthy playing more minutes. Is there concern? I like Guy's young and Brandon's young, but is there concern that those guys are playing too heavy of a minute count?
No. I mean, if there's a concern, then our performance staff will, put a limit on their minutes too. But I just these guys are young. They are playing heavy minutes, but they're being monitored really well every day.
All right, that's Steve Kerr post-game tonight as the Dubs fall 127-117. Now, towards the end there, that was the question and the answer from Steve that I pointed out. Again, I don't know the gentleman's name that asked the question, and he had to ask it like 3 times because Steve couldn't fully understand it. I think the comment about the mask was the gentleman wearing or asking the question was wearing a mask, and that probably made it harder for Steve to figure out what he was asking. But the question was, with the losses mounting, is your team beginning to fade into obscurity? And after Steve kind of got over the initial confusion of what the question was, he essentially said, no, we're just kind of going through it right now. Honestly, I believe there are brighter days ahead. And it's not like he's talking about next year. He's talking about, I think, the rest of this season. I think that kind of goes into everything that we've been talking about for the first hour here of the show. And we're going to wrap things up here in just a bit. But I don't think there's like this crazy pissed off energy within the Warriors franchise right now about the results, wins, and losses. I'm sure there was about the Jazz loss and about the Bulls loss, but once those happened, I think the Warriors probably became pretty resigned to, and pair that with the ongoing kind of slow recovery process of Steph Curry. I think the Warriors probably became pretty resigned to the not fact, but what feels like pretty close to a fact that they're probably going to be either the 9 or the 10 seed. And if that is the reality that they're facing and they can't fall any lower than that, then you kind of have the freedom to not having to live and die with every game, win or loss. You kind of have the freedom to just try things, figure out what you got, and plan for, once you get healthy, how you can best equip your team at that point. And that kind of feels like where the Warriors are. This is not the way that Steve Kerr is answering questions, the way that I think members of the front office are feeling right now, just based on what I've heard and listened to and been around to observe. It doesn't feel like this is oh my God, why can't we win a game? I'm ripping my hair out. This is so incredibly frustrating. It feels like we know what's up here. We know the reality. We know what's going on. We've accepted that, and now we're just trying to make the best of it. And the best of it will come when Steph Curry gets healthy. And that's kind of just what they're buying time for at this point. 888-957-9570. We're going to go to the phones in just a sec to wrap things up on the phones. Texaco on the YouTube chat asks me, and you can join in there, youtube.com/957thegame. Texaco asks, that reporter who asked the fade into obscurity question had some malicious intent with that question. Am I right? Texaco asks, I don't know about malicious. That sounds like a question where you're probably trying to get, some kind of fiery answer back from Steve, and maybe you can turn it into some clickbait headline. That's kind of what it sounded like a little bit. Again, I don't know who it was that asked the question, but it did sound a little more than just a normal presser question. Like, you could have maybe gotten across the same point without saying fading into obscurity. You could have said, it's 4 straight losses. You've lost 6 of 7. The Clippers also won today. You're 2 games behind the 8 seed now. The Blazers won. You're only a half game ahead of them. Like, how are you guys all feeling right now? Like, where do you go from here? And you probably would have gotten the same answer that Steve Kerr gave you right there. Steve is generally pretty good at kind of avoiding the gotcha answers, and he didn't really fall for it right there either. All right, 888-957-9570. Let's wrap things up on the phone lines with Maria, who I believe is headed back to the East Bay right now. Maria was at Chase Center, I believe. And Maria, were you sitting behind the Warriors bench? Is that what I hear? Welcome. You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Yes, I was. And one of my observations tonight was that Steph was pretty reserved most of the game. And whenever Santos scored, that was the only time I saw him animated. Fist pumping. I think he stood up once, maybe twice. So you can tell he was pretty excited to see Santos getting in the game and getting his shots in.
Yeah, Maria, great observation. Me sitting up in the media perch, which is nowhere near as good of a view as you had right behind the Warrior bench. Frankly, I'm a little jealous. I don't think I've ever sat that close during an actual NBA game. Hopefully I get to someday, but not that I'm complaining. I'm at most home games, and it's a great perk, and I love being able to be here. But from what I saw, you're probably referring to the beginning of the fourth quarter when Chase was the loudest and probably Steph was the most animated, and that was when Guy Santos did most of his scoring. In the first 3 quarters, he scored 4 points. In the fourth quarter, he scored 13 points. So there was probably a lot of cheering specifically for Guy in the fourth because he was doing almost all the scoring. I do know also in the fourth, after the Malachi-Leon steal and dunk, cut the deficit to 7. Steph was up and animated there as well. Other than that, he's milling around during timeouts and, talking to different people. He was talking to DiVincenzo at half court for quite a while. At one point, I believe it might have been during a review, or maybe it was during, the team's coming out of a timeout. I don't remember the exact situation, but he was talking to Dante, a former teammate. There was a moment during a dead ball when he was contesting Jaden McDaniels' practice warm-up jumper, and he kind of had some fun with that there. But yeah, I think Maria is right. The most animated he was the Guy Santos scoring flurry in the fourth quarter when it felt like the Warriors might come all the way back. This whole conversation about how the front office might feel about Steph's impending return, and if maybe certain people think he should return and some people think maybe he don't. If you just ask Steph, Steph wants to come back. And I don't know exactly how the decision is going to go once he's ready to play. But if it was up to Steph and Steph alone, Steph's playing the second that he's ready. He probably already wants to play, would be my guess, because that's just kind of the guy that he is. And, if this was a playoff series and the Warriors felt like they had a legitimate shot to win it, of course, and win a championship potentially, Steph might already be playing. I don't know exactly how his knee feels in that regard, but Steph's the kind of guy where he's itching. He's probably been itching for a long time to play, and it hasn't worked out that way. But I also think, again, the reality of the standings give the Warriors the freedom to not push it terribly hard with Steph, which is maybe frustrating for Steph personally, but it is the right decision, because the last thing that you want is to have something happen to Steph that threatens next year. Because as Anthony Slater of ESPN reported today, and I think he said it on the Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN's NBA podcast with McMahon and with Wendy and Slater and a few others. What he said today was essentially the Warriors are treating next year as the year, the season to really like kind of fully go for it for the last time. And so the last thing you want in a season that's likely going to come down to you having to win 2 play-in games, the last thing you want to do is to hurt next season in the name of this season, which feels kind of doomed for, at best, a first-round loss. So that's the last thing that the Warriors want to have happen going forward. 888-957-9570. Dubs fall 127 to 117. It has been a bit of an extended post-game show because so many of you guys wanted to weigh in, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all the comments, all the calls, all the texts here on Warriors Wrap-Up. One thing I do think that is worth pointing out, and I'm not going to dive into it incredibly in depth because I do got to get out of here in just a minute. Have you noticed the Warriors' turnover numbers? The Warriors' turnover numbers have been great during their losing streak. Like, honestly, like I'd have to go back and look at it, and maybe we'll talk about this on Sunday because maybe the trend will continue in New York versus the Knicks. The Warriors, their last 4 games, in terms of turnovers, 9 turnovers tonight. By the way, Minnesota committed 17 turnovers. The Warriors committed 9. Tuesday versus Chicago, an overtime game, by the way. So you had 5 extra minutes to commit more turnovers. You committed 12 turnovers in that game. You committed 10 turnovers versus Utah, and you committed 13 turnovers versus OKC. Those are 4 losses. One, I don't know if the Warriors have played 4 consecutive games this season before this stretch where they turned the ball over 13 times or fewer. And I guarantee you it hasn't happened in forever where they've committed 13 turnovers or fewer in 4 consecutive games and lost all those games. Usually the turnover battle kind of decides the game for the Warriors. If they turn it over like 15 times or fewer, they usually win those games. They turn it over 16 plus, they usually lose those games. The Warriors have been taking care of the ball, yet they're still losing. They have their first 4-game losing streak of the year, and their max turnovers in that stretch is 13. Think about their last win in Houston. They turned the ball over 19 times in that game. So it's kind of strange the way the turnover conversation has kind of shifted. I do think the turnover number for the Warriors, it is one that we've constantly said, how can they take care of the ball better? If they do, they're going to win so many games. I do think the turnover number is just really related to the way in which the Warriors play basketball, and just generally their offensive style lends itself to more chaos, and as a result, more turnovers, and that chaos is like turned up by a factor of 10 when Steph plays. So kind of in general, when the Warriors have fewer turnovers, I don't think it necessarily means they were like great in terms of executing offensively, at least in terms of their normal style of offense. When the Warriors have low turnover numbers, it means they're playing an entirely different kind of brand of basketball offensively, and it means there's less of the chaos that comes with playing Steph Curry. It's more, we're going to throw the ball to Porzingis, and we're going to see what he can create for us right here. It's less of the crazy read and react and ball movement and split-second decision-making every time you catch the ball, and what are you doing, and just pass without even thinking. Pass, cut, shoot, dribble, whatever it is. That tends to lend itself to more turnovers. And I think because the Warriors have moved away from that a bit, they're turning the ball over less, but the offense also hasn't been as crisp at times and maybe not creating as many good looks. So it's something to keep an eye on, the turnover numbers, because I don't know how many times early in the season I said if they could just commit like 14 turnovers a game, they're going to win so many basketball games. Well, they've committed 13 or fewer turnovers again. Tonight, 9, last game, 12, then 10, then 13, the 2 prior to that. 4 consecutive games with 13 or fewer turnovers, including 9 tonight, and they've lost all 4 of those games. Interesting. I didn't think that was possible for the Warriors to take care of the ball that much and still lose. But they found a way. They found a way to make that a reality. All right. That's all the time we've got today. Warriors fall 127 to 117. Up next for the Dubs, no rest for the weary. They are off tomorrow, but it is a travel day because they've got the Knicks in New York at the Garden on Sunday at 5, which means pregame coverage with me on Warriors Live begins at 4 right here on 95.7. The game after that in Washington on Monday, so a back-to-back in New York City and then in D.C. Sunday and Monday, in Boston on Wednesday, in Detroit on Friday, a week from tonight, in Atlanta Saturday. That's another back-to-back, Friday in Detroit, Saturday in Atlanta, and then they wrap up that 6-game trip in Dallas on Monday, 9 days from now. All right. 10 days from now on the 23rd of March. That's going to do it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you all for the calls, the texts, the comments on YouTube. Thanks as well to Cam Williams behind the glass. A long day for you, Cam. Appreciate you hanging out. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Randy signing off. Dubs fall tonight, 127 to 117. I will talk to you on Sunday for Dubs Knicks right here on 95.7 The Game.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
If you're only good to your new friends, you're not going to have any old ones. Straight Talk gets it.